Here comes Harley Davidson. After the Harley Road Glide was very publicly spanked in a head-to-head with the Indian Challenger, Harley is coming up off the canvas to try to land a knockout punch of their own. Now I can see a Harley flat tracker, but a cafe racer with 150 horsepower? Let's have a look. Please subscribe and ring the bell to be notified when the next video comes out. For a very long time, it was pretty clear what constituted a Harley. There were two big cylinders and a 45-degree V, there were cooling fins, there were push rods, and a rev limit set somewhere below your resting heart rate. Ditto the horsepower number. Nothing wrong with that. I can appreciate a low-revving air-cooled V-twin as much as the next guy. I started out on a Suzuki Intruder 1400 and still have fond memories of that bike. Ah, the torque. Because that's what these big twins do. They pump out gobs of torque, and who cares about peak horsepower when you're cruising? Torque is immediate and available. It's always there for you. No one cared what those pesky Japanese and Europeans were up to with their high-revving, high-horsepower engines. This was America, and no foreign liquid-cooled bike was going to threaten America's brand. Until the boomers who bought them started trading them in for walkers, and the younger crowd simply couldn't afford $30,000 chrome chariots to get around on. And then came Indian, and after a brief nod to tradition with some fins and pushrods of their own, they produced a liquid-cooled Scout that everyone loved. Except for the rear suspension, which took a hammer to your spine. Oh my god! Check out my review of the Scout Bobber from last year. Suddenly that ugly radiator didn't seem to matter so much if it gave you 100 horsepower. The Scout made mincemeat of the Sportster before Indian released the FTR 1200, pretty much the best performing American motorcycle ever. Then they followed that up with the Challenger, which laid the smackdown on the Road Glide, all the while talking mad trash about Harley. Well, you can only poke an old dog so much before it loses its patience. After taking a beating in the early rounds, Harley is up off the canvas and loading up on its punches. Last year came an announcement of two new liquid-cooled bikes, a 975cc naked model called the Bronx, and a 1250cc adventure bike of all things, powered by Harley's new Revolution X engine that can pump out 145 horsepower. That would make it the most powerful mass-produced American motorcycle on the market. Which brings us to the latest. Why build an engine for one bike when you can use it for an entire line? So here come two new Revolution concepts, both of which look close to production ready. A flat tracker that is set to flatten the FTR 1200, and a cafe racer naked bike that could be the highest performance American motorcycle on the road. Let's look at each one in turn. First, can we agree that the flat tracker looks amazing? Look at those lines. Can you imagine this thing going head to head with the FTR? It truly is a great time for American motorcycling. So what about the engine and performance? The flat tracker looks like a very compact bike, and that engine is huge, which I think looks good. The height of the engine is accentuated by the overhead cams, which was also the case on my old Intruder. The Indian FTR has 120 horsepower and 85 foot-pounds of torque, but if the claimed Harley numbers for the Pan America hold up, this bike should have 145 horses and 90 foot-pounds. Of course weight matters, but the Indian is no lightweight, coming in at 517 pounds wet. Harleys are not known as featherweights, but the flat tracker should be in the same neighborhood at the very least. Given those numbers, I can picture Harley producing the same type of video that Indian made where their bike wipes the floor with their rival. Oh, what sweet redemption it would be for the Harley faithful to see their flat tracker obliterate the FTR at the drag strip. Other details of this bike? There's no passenger accommodation at all, no passenger seat or pegs. However, this is a concept bike, and that may have been done with the intention of making the bike look cleaner. Expect the production model to have at least an option to carry a passenger. Moving on, the high-swept dual exhaust pipes look amazing. We also see Brembo dual discs up front as befitting any performance motorcycle. Finally, the foot pegs seem to be in a typical naked bike position right under the seat. One more detail. Doesn't that tank look like it came off a Sportster? Sure looks it to me, which leads to some speculation. Since Harley has to replace the Sportster soon, could the 883 and 1200 models make way for liquid-cooled 975 and 1250cc bikes? It would be great to see a Sportster that lives up to its name, However, the Sportster has to be built to a price point, and I can't see Harley selling a 115 horsepower Sportster 975 for the same price as the current 883 iron, or anywhere near it. We can dream though. So what about the Cafe Racer? Pretty sweet looking with that gold finish on the engine and exhaust. Again, one seat, no passenger pegs. Harley should offer that option. After all, if you're racing to the cafe, shouldn't you have a back seat to take that cute barista for a ride? The stances of both bikes look pretty aggressive, although surprisingly the Cafe doesn't have clip-ons. From the schematics, the riding position looks pretty comfortable. The pegs are underneath the rider, the handlebars sit nice and high, it's got a bikini fairing to keep the wind off the rider's chest and a stylish exhaust that's not swept up too high. Both bikes look good. Is the Cafe Racer going to be mixing it up with the KTM 1290 Super Duke and the Ducati Street Fighter V4 on the racetrack anytime soon? I highly doubt it. It's down on horsepower and probably up on weight compared to those bikes. However, I see it competing more with the Triumph Thruxton and Kawasaki Z900 RS, and it'll have a lot more power than those bikes. As for the flat tracker, it's aimed squarely at the Indian FTR 1200, as there aren't a lot of bikes out there like these two. Will it have real off-road ability? Highly unlikely, but in all fairness, neither does the Indian. Both can tackle a fire road, that's about it. So is this exciting news? Are these bikes likely to make it to production? A month ago I would have said yes, but now things are a lot more uncertain. This is early April of 2020 and things are not good around the world. In a nutshell, the world is closed. People are dying, the economy is in a free fall, and unemployment has never risen this quickly before. In a time like this, not many people are looking to buy a Harley. These bikes are not known as affordable transportation. The problem that both Harley and Indian have is that they both produce premium luxury products, and these are the first thing that consumers give up when times get tough. So if you're watching this at some point in the future, you know how things turned out. Was this a blip that we quickly overcame, a prolonged recession, or a meltdown of the social fabric as we know it? If you're sitting in your bunker wearing a gas mask surrounded by a year's supply of toilet paper, I don't want to know. But whatever happens, Harley should be applauded for trying to modernize. They've created bikes that can steal customers away from other brands. Now if they can only figure out how to price them competitively. So Harley is up off the canvas and swinging, but the fight is likely to get cancelled before it can finish. Both Harley and Indian have spent a ton of money developing cool new bikes that few people may be interested in, at least in the near future. That doesn't bode well for either company. Let's hope that we overcome this and that things return to relative normalcy soon. Wouldn't it be nice to return to a situation where we could lust after these bikes rather than worry about whether going outdoors is safe? So thanks for watching, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Hit the bell to be notified of the next video if you want to hear me ramble some more. Stay healthy, stay safe, and may the spokes be with you.